All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the BC Lions Coaches Playbook series. Tonight is the penultimate webinar in our series of 5 weekly webinars. Our final one's going to be taking place next Wednesday, November 4th, with our linebackers coach, Travis Brown, and our offensive assistant, Danny O'Brien. So stay tuned for that one. We can see you there. Tonight, we're going to be talking about defensive backs and wide receivers. And we have two coaches on the line. We'll get to them in just a moment. We want to again thank GML Mechanical and Boza Construction for both presenting the Coaches Playbook program. Without their help, none of this would happen. So once again, thank you to both GML Mechanical and Boza Construction. Tonight we are going to have, again, if you've been on for the past 3 webinars or tonight's your first one, we are going to be having 45 minutes of instruction from both our guests, from both our coaches, and we're going to reserve the last 10 minutes for any questions that might come through. You're welcome to use the chat function to ask any questions throughout the presentation, or you can save them through the end when we're asking. And I think we're ready to get going. So tonight we got two-time Grey Cup champions, one from the Edmonton Eskimos, one from the BC Lions. And let me introduce you to both. Well, off the top, we'll go to Ryan Phillips first, and then we'll hear from Jason Tucker a little bit later. So let me put Ryan up here. And Ryan, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Great.
Just a little bit about myself first and foremost. My name is Ryan Phillips. I've been a part of BC Lions organization since 2005. Born and raised Seattle, Washington. Went to Franklin High School, and then from there went to Eastern Washington University. Came out 2005, and in 2005 is when I came to the BC Lions as a defensive back and had a great 12 years as being a player. And at this point now, going into my second year as a defensive back coach. Some things I just want to touch on before we get started is, for me as a player transition to a coach has definitely been a great task, a great accomplishment, but also to the same extent, it's something that I look forward to doing, even during my playing days, going towards the end there when I want to figure out what it is I want to do for the rest of my time or the rest of my career. So with that being said, I take my job very seriously. I also understand the task at hand when it comes to transitioning from a player to a coach and trying to identify the things that makes that transition as best and as successful as possible. So with that being said, I talk from a sometimes player standpoint, but also talk from a coach's standpoint in that regard. So with that being said, I just try to do the best that I can in that regard. So then that way I always take my players into consideration, but also how they can understand the game, how they can understand the playbook, and how I can get the most out of them as a player. A few things I want to touch on is if you weren't able to watch the videos, please feel free to do so that we did have posted before. It would tell you a lot about some of the fundamentals and some of the drills that I do on a day-to-day basis. I think those things are very key to success. It'll definitely put you in a position of being successful, get you to play a little bit more fluid, and now have you build an added confidence to your defensive back, so then that way they can play at a high level, and now your success rate should go up from there. If we can go to the first slide, I'll go ahead and get started. Just a few keys to success that I have. One thing's for sure is technique is everything. I feel like technique gives even the average athletic guy a chance to be successful. And I think that speaks volumes. I think at some point, confidence has to be something that breaks you through. So some of these keys are things that are from a technique standpoint, but also from a knowledge standpoint. If you have those two things that go hand in hand and they coincide with one another, I feel like now you put yourself in a position to be successful. So the first thing is just having a proper stance. I have an 80-20 rule, which is 80% on your front foot, 20% on your back foot. It should be a proper weight distribution in regards to having a proper stance. Loose arms, meaning that you're not, stiff or robotic. I don't want to see, guys that have stiff arms where they feel like they can't move. You want to be loose, meaning that you want to be able to have a fluid running motion, a fluid back pedal motion. So then that way that you can play at a high level and be able to move as fluid as possible. When I say no robots, I mean literally no robots, no guys that are just like mechanical. Everything has to be, so stiff and, basically to the point where your muscles aren't loose, where now you can't have fast muscles. So that's one thing that you want to stay away from as best as possible. Smooth back pedal, I think that's something that, definitely put you in position of being successful as far as keeping a nice cushion, not allowing guys to get into your not allowing guys to get into your cushion, making sure your weight is over your front feet. That way, now when it's time to break downhill or make proper breaks, you're always in position to do so. You can't play on your heels. The more that you play on your heels, the more so now you have a chance of that wide receiver having an advantage to now you can't react like you need to. The one thing for sure as defensive backs, we are reactors. We have to react to receivers, but we have to now put ourselves in an added edge where now that we can play with a little bit more weight on our toes. So then that way now we can break a little bit more faster and get our speed up to course. So then that way now when it's time to make a play, we're in position to do so. When I say arms and a natural bounce, I mean that now we're not being stiff. We're just letting our arms naturally bounce in our back pedal, whether that's hands on our quads or whether they're at a hip height. What I mean by that is just at waist level. With that being said, let your arms naturally bounce so that way now when you want to get into running form, you can get into running form as fast as possible. That's what it is when you're coming out of your back pedal. No matter what, even though we do start out playing backwards at times, you want to be able to break and get into running motion as fast as possible. So that's something that you want to be able to do as fluidly as possible as well. Next point is eyes are everything. One thing you'll even see if you're watching, games, whether if it's NFL, college, whatever you're watching right now at this point, you'll see sometimes defensive backs getting their eyes caught in the backfield. One thing I have one rule is if you see the throw, you're going to see the catch. And that's something that's been 100%. If you see the quarterback throw the ball, you're going to see your receiver catch it too. So at the end of the day, you want to have your eyes on your receiver. I always emphasize to my defensive backs all the time, the quarterback isn't throwing to you. He's throwing to the receiver. So if you have your eyes on the receiver as long as possible, that way now you get in track with the ball. That way now you increase your chances of being able to make a play. That's just something that has always been evident, something that always has been 100% as far as that goes. And it puts yourself in a position now to stay in between the ball and the receiver. So eyes to hips when you're coming out of breaks. Keep your eyes out of the backfield. The time for you to be able to look in the backfield, look at the quarterback is on some zones. But as far as man-to-man plays, you keep your eyes on your luggage. That's what I tell anybody. So when you're at the airport, you definitely want to leave your luggage to the side, start going to the bathroom, leaving your luggage out. Keep your eyes on your luggage. So then that way now, you have a better chance of being successful. The next step is always understanding the play call. The better you are understanding the playbook, understanding the play call, the better chances that you do have at being successful. When you understand the play call, you understand the things that you can and can't do within the play call. If it's 3rd and 8 and we got to cover 3 on, or if it's 3rd and 7 and you got to cover 2 on, at that point now you understand the play call, you understand the situation. So now at that point now you understand a little bit better on how it is that you want to play that call. That increases success. It also decreases the amount of how much you have to rely on your athletic ability to do everything for you. Sometimes, you want to rely on the mental game more so than the physical game. So then that way now you already did the hard work. The easier that you can play fast by not thinking as much, now put your defensive backs in a chance of being more successful, which now helps the team. It allows them to make more plays, and it allows them now to see things that happen slowly in front of them, and it slows the game down for them. And that's definitely something that you want your guys to be able to do on a regular basis. The next step, knowing your opponent. Always know who you're playing against, whether that's through film study, whether that's through scouting report, whether that's through you breaking down film yourself, knowing the guy that you're going against on a play-to-play basis, understand how personnel may change. When I say personnel may change, where they might line them up in different spots. If there's a guy in particular that you need to be covering, if you're a guy that's good enough to follow a receiver, understand why they put them in the slot in contrast to putting them outside. Those are things that just come with valuing study habits. Those are things that now you start to, try to adapt, and now you try to get the best way of how to learn your opponent. And everybody does it differently. Everybody has different type of study habits. Some guys just watch film. Some guys have to write things down. I know some guys that don't even like to look at scout reports because it clogs, whatever mental state that they're in regards to how they attack their opponent. But you have to find what works for you, but also to the same extent, the coaches have to find that out as well. So then that way we can get the most out of the player. The one thing I've come to understand is everybody doesn't learn the same. Everybody doesn't attack the game the same. And everybody at that point also now, takes that whatever information that they gather throughout the course of the week, they take it and apply it differently. So I have to find ways, whether that's through visual information, whether that's through walkthroughs, whether that's through, us going over a few things before and after practice. You have to find what works for your guys to get the most out of them. So then that way, those guys go out there and perform at their highest level. Situational football. This is something that is never ending. It changes throughout the course of the game. this is something that also comes with experience, but also to the same extent, I feel like it has to be practiced on a day in, day out basis. I always say it is the job of the coach to put guys in certain situations throughout the course of the week. So then that way, when game day comes, it's not foreign to them. It's not something that they haven't encountered before. So, when it comes to 3rd and 10, or when it comes to, a different situation where there's only 2 minutes left on the clock and what the opponent is trying to do at this time. What if it's based off the score being up 1 or being up 3, whether they're trying to get in just a field goal range. Those are things that you have to do throughout the course of the week. So that way, those guys are able to think for themselves at times. Because if you're in a situation where you don't have enough timeouts or you can't gather up on the sideline, those guys have to be able to think for themselves within the play call and within the situation. And the more so you can do that throughout the course of the week, the better off your guys are able to play relaxed and they're not able to play in panic mode. So in that way, now they're able to go ahead and feel like they got this mastered and they feel like now they can go out there and perform to the highest level. That's what you have to do on a day in, day out basis. I feel like throughout the course of the week, if you're able to come up with different situations for guys to be able to practice, whether it's 2-minute drill, whether it's the ending of a half, whether it's the first possession coming out in the half, all those things are very, very vital to success because all those situations are going to take course throughout the course of a year. And whether if you're a team that plays 8 games, 10 games, or even 18 games like ourselves, there's going to be different situations that you're going to take place. And you have to be prepared for those as best as possible and understand that you guys got to put those guys in a position to be successful through great practice habits, through great practice situations. And then at the end of the day, guys got to go out there and play, and they got to make plays. When it comes to execution, finish and making plays, those things kind of go hand in hand. You can't finish and make plays without executing the call. So that's where those go hand in hand. So execution comes with knowing everything that came beforehand. Like I said, understanding the personnel, understanding the play call, understanding what's at stake, what they're trying to do, maybe how they're trying to attack you as a defender. And at that point now going to go play fast and play at a high level. And then when you got your opportunity, you got to make it. You got to finish the play. You got to make sure that you put your best foot forward and always playing at a high level at all times. Tyler, can go to the next slide, please? Some of these defensive back drills that I do that I call EDDs are everyday drills. These are things that I do every day, whether if I'm training a kid, whether if I'm doing it with my defensive backs for BC, whoever it is I'm working with, these are just everyday drills that I feel like are imperative to a DB's success. These are things that I did myself for, a number of years. I feel like these things are just staples as far as understanding balance, understanding technique, understanding leverage, understanding how to put yourself in position to make plays, practicing eyes, focusing on eyes. These are things that you just should always start your drills with every day before you go on to the more complex drills, whether that's ball skills, whether that's understanding zones, whether there's things you're trying to do within the scheme. These are things that you should do every single day just to get yourself warmed up and get yourself in a mental state to be ready to play football. The mental part of the game is the highest percentage that there is. And I feel like, for you to get yourself really conditioned to be able to play that day, there's certain things or certain routines that guys have. And I feel like these are very crucial things for guys to have and do on a day-to-day basis. So that way they get their feet up under them, but also it puts them in a mental state like I'm ready to go and now I'm ready to perform at a high level. Just a few examples of some of these, just a W drill, simple W drill. You start off in a stance. You could use cones or you could use yard marks. Most of the time I have guys break 5 yards apart. It's just simple, coming out with a smooth back pedal, maybe get about 5 back pedals in, simple 45-degree break to the next 5-yard line mark. Most of the time I make them go 3 times before the next guy goes, and you do the same thing going both ways. These are simple breaks, but at the same extent, you make this break probably 100 times during the course of the game, whether if you're getting the ball or not. Even if you're running into a run defense, you normally make these type of breaks all the time on a day-to-day basis. So that's what's crucial as far as doing this on a day-to-day basis because you make it all the time. From a quick feet standpoint, what I mean by quick feet W drill is the same drill, but it's more so read steps. If you're going to emphasize quick game, whether that's quick slants, quick outs, you're not going to get into a full back pedal. What I call read steps is when guys come slow out. Some guys like to do a shuffle. Some guys like to do a walkout step where they actually just slow their back pedal down for the first 3 steps before they get into a fast back pedal. However you decide to teach your guys as far as read steps go, we do the same thing in a W drill format. So you might only give 2 walkout steps and then all of a sudden it's now a quick break into a W drill 5 yards apart. That way now you're getting your quick feet up under you, but also you're training your eyes to be able to look for certain routes. And in that quick game, like I said, whether if it's quick hitches, quick outs, quick slants, those things like that. You got to be able to play those, and you can't let those just now become balls that you give up all the time just based on the fact that you're not prepared to break quickly within a play call. Then at this point, it now carries over to your regular backpedal and breaks, whether that's backpedal breaking 90 degrees, that's just going both ways. Your backpedal now breaking upfield 45 degrees as if you're doing a corner route. Your regular backpedal just turn and go on a go ball, and your backpedal break upfield 45 degrees also with a corner route, but now speed turn as well as if a receiver wants to run a post corner. The one thing I emphasize even through all those drills is eyes throughout their break. No matter what, every single break that they make, I tell them, for your first 3 steps alone, you should not be looking at the quarterback. Even if you're doing a ball drill with it, you should not be looking at the quarterback throwing the ball. If you are, then now you're creating bad habits. Within those first 3 steps, you should be looking at the receiver, looking at the receiver's hips, and then at that point now, he'll put you in track of the ball. So you never should ever feel like, oh, there's a sense of urgency for me to look at the quarterback coming out of the break. Because understand, just like I said before, the quarterback is throwing to the receiver. So as long as he's throwing it to him, you're always going to be able to be in play. At that point, you shouldn't look for the quarterback at all until you get in control of the receiver, is what I like to call it. Some people like to put in location of the receiver, but I like to say in control. To me, in control is if I have the receiver in less than arm's reach. If I can't reach in my arm and touch him, I don't have control of him at that point. He's running away from me. So at that point, I don't need to look back at the quarterback. I need to try to close the gap as best as possible. And if I do get there in time, I need to be able to play his hands. That's something that you have to emphasize day in and day out. Because like I said, certain guys make certain plays based off athletic ability at times when they don't emphasize the technique and they get away with things. And then at that point, they start creating bad habits. And you want to stay away from that as best as possible. So no matter what, emphasize eyes to the hip, playing the hands, not looking at the quarterback within the first 3 steps, always breaking and transitioning with speed, being relaxed while doing so. Then that way now, you're basically preparing yourself for those, for whatever it is that you're doing on that day from a DB standpoint, whether if it's playing and breaking, whether if it's playing the ball, you're always putting yourself in position to make plays now. Also now from a transition standpoint, as far as transition DB drills, I like these transition DB drills just due to the fact that you're always going to have to transition maybe 1 or 2 times, maybe even 3 times in one play. Whether you're getting out and ups, whether you're getting post corner routes, whether you're getting double moves, these are things that you have to be able to do on a play-to-play basis. You don't know if you're playing against a team that is a gadget team. A great team in the NFL right now that everybody likes to watch is the Kansas City Chiefs because of their offense, and they do have a great play caller in Andy Reid and so forth. But the thing about it is they have the personnel to run these type of plays where they can do double moves. They can do some other things within their offense that you have to be prepared for. And if you're in a one-on-one situation or a man-to-man situation, you're going to have to transition a couple times. So with that being said, there's a couple transition drills that I like to do. So then that way, you can get guys accustomed to now moving and transitioning fluidly throughout the course of a play, but also it warms up their hips and things like that. Having a low center of gravity all the time. I always tell guys, the same position that you started in is the same way you should finish, meaning that throughout the course of your back pedal, throughout the course of your transition, the proper stance that you started in is the same stance you should be in the whole time throughout your back pedal and transition. If you ever see a defensive back moving up and down, meaning that their body leverage or their upper body is moving up and down, that's too much at that point. That means that now they're moving up and down, they're getting on their heels, they have to swap back down before they can run full speed again. Like they're doing some other things at that point that now, is putting them in a deficit and they can't allow themselves to be able to do so. So you have to be able to now stay low within your back pedal, stay low in your transition, but also train your eyes to stay low as well. So then that way now you put yourself in a position to be successful. So a few transition drills that I have is simple back pedal, breaking downhill 45 degrees like we would in a W drill, but now transition into a man turn now to open up. That's if someone did run maybe a double move. Even if we want to extend it even further, some guys can run a comeback now, going to a go route, whatever the case may be, but you want to be able to man turn into them. When I say man turn, that means you turn into the receiver. You'll notice now in the next one, it's the same drill, but now we zone turn. Now, you could come up into the same type of situation, but you might be in the zone. In a lot of zone calls, you'll see our defensive backs play outside leverage. Now, it puts them in the position to be able to see the quarterback now through the receiver. So if the receiver did run a comeback or did run a stutter or anything like that, and then we did accidentally break, at that point now we need to be able to transition to a zone turn because we want to be able to still have our eyes on the quarterback. So it is somewhat of the same drill. It's just on that second transition, you go from making a man turn to a zone turn. Always emphasize, like I said, when you're making these turns and making these breaks, eyes are always in the right place. Also, with that being said, in those transitions, try to keep them butts down, hips down, so that way now they can get into a speed transition as best as possible. The main thing I always telling you guys when it comes to playing defensive back, you're moving with a deficit for the fact that you're moving backwards first, and then you're transitioning into a forward run. These receivers are already forward running. So with that being said, you want to be able to transition as best as possible and as fast as possible without stumbling, without body composition now being, going left and right. You want to be able to now get vertical as fast as possible if that guy is going vertical within his route combination. Now another couple of drills, back pedal break 90, still the same deal. You're still, instead of going 45, you're breaking 90, which is laterally now, and still transition into a man turn. These are those out and up situations. These are those wheels that maybe even a running back can do, whether the slot receiver can do. No matter what, it's the same type of deal. But like I said, now you're just having an initial break with a different degree. So whether it's breaking 90 or even breaking 45, it's still the same it's still the same mindset as far as being low in your transition. Like I said, being low with your hips, eyes to the hips, and then being able to play the ball when you get into location or into control of the receiver. The one thing that you do emphasize throughout this is if you do have ball drills, and everybody likes ball drills, and of course kids like ball drills. There's one thing that's inevitable. You want to keep a kid or even a professional athlete, being a grown adult, you want to keep them in tuned. And, guys love ball drills. Guys don't want to sit back and just do drills all the time. They want to catch the ball. They want to show that they can catch. I mean, Tucky even tell you when he comes on, DBs think they're receivers. Receivers think that they can play DB sometime. I mean, it's just arguments and battles we get into all the time. So, in order to keep guys engaged, yes, you bring in balls, and now you put them in a position now to catch balls. But the thing about it is you got to make sure that they emphasize the technique first before we get to that step. And you got to emphasize the fact that you'll never have a chance to catch a ball in the game, create the big play, create the big interception without having proper technique first. So with that being said, when you do go ahead and incorporate the ball drills, make sure that you do the technique first. And then at that point now, it will all take care of itself. When the ball is in the air, please emphasize high pointing the ball, turning those hands over. Me being from Seattle, I always yell out when I see guys try to catch the ball over their hands, right, over their head. I always tell them there's no Ken Griffey Jr.'s out here. I tell them that all the time. There's no Ken Griffey Jr.'s. Ken Griffey Jr.'s retired. He's the only one that, like I said, I allow to catch the ball over his head because I didn't see him do it 100 times in the Kingdom, so it's okay. But my defensive backs, I don't want you to do that because then you're going to be on TSN getting mossed. And then now you're going to be looking like, oh, man, what happened? And now your kid's going to be watching and talking about, oh, man, my dad was on there, and my dad was on there for the wrong reasons. That ain't a good feeling to have. I've had that happen maybe once, maybe twice to myself. So with that being said, it's not a good feeling. So if anything, try to high point the ball. I tell everybody, turn your hands over. Turn your hands over. Like I said, he's throwing to the receiver. The receiver can see and track the ball because his eyes are already on the ball from the point that the quarterback let it go. When you do have a late transition to now being able to focus on the ball or track the ball, you got to put yourself in position now to have your hands first, meaning that I can't over the top it. I now have to turn my hands over now and now be able to now place the ball and be able to catch it at its highest point. That's something that does come through reps. That is something that does have to be repped all the time. Another thing I always emphasize is even as a defensive back, I want to be able to do some wide receiver drills as well. I feel like they help us, from a catching standpoint, learning how to catch, learning how to make the big play, hand placement. These are things that you transition to when you get away from the regular everyday drills. But no matter what, when it comes to everyday drills, you want to make sure that you do these on a day-to-day basis. It puts your team in a position to make plays. It helps them understand what they can and can't do within the scheme. Whether if you're a man-to-man type of defensive team, whether if you're a zone team, even within zone blitz, these things will always put them guys in position to make plays within that because, one, like I said, they'll be able to focus on the task at hand. They'll understand their playbook. They'll understand the defensive call, but then they'll also know what they can and can't do within the call. And now they're able to apply the proper technique to be able to now execute at a high level to finish and make plays. So if there's any questions at the end, I'm definitely available for those. But from, like I said, an everyday standpoint, as far as fundamentals go, those are some of the premier fundamentals that the highest level guys do, even to the lowest level, whether if it's even amateur little league guys. These are things that you have to get these guys doing on an everyday basis. So that way now it becomes routine. They can do it at a high level. They can do it fast. And at that point now, when they become maybe professionals or even a higher collegiate guys, this is not something that they're transitioning to and trying to now, change and now try to learn on the run. And now at that point, now they mastered it, so that way now they can make more plays and it'll benefit the team. And now you guys will also be in a position to win more games. That's it for me at this point right now. I'll shift it to Tuck at this point. I'll let him tell you about some of the lower, the weak guys on our team, some of the receivers that that we kill all the time. I gotta mess with them on this. I mean, this is just what I do. So, some of the guys we dominate on a regular basis. But no. In seriousness, Tuck's a good guy. Just a little bit. I played against Tuck a number of years. An elite guy, one of the better receivers I ever played against. And I'm not saying that just because. I'm really saying that literally. One of the better guys. Definitely was a technician, but at the same extent had the speed, had the hands to be able to do so. So I respect him to a whole nother degree. Like I said, one of the better guys as well, just across the league. So, whatever he says at this point, definitely I would take advantage of because, like I said, you're getting it from a professional on and off the field. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Tuckman and let him go ahead and do his thing.
Appreciate that, Ryan. Great introduction. Like I said, you were one of the best too to go up against. So it was a great pleasure going up against you. And from all that, I echo a lot of the stuff that Ryan says with that. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jason Tucker, born in California, but raised in Texas. So I've been a Texas boy from here on out, and nothing changed about that. Went to TCU, go Horned Frogs. And I was blessed to have an opportunity to play in the NFL for a few years. So got drafted by the Bengals and then spent a few years with the Cowboys. And then I made my way to the CFL, which I ended up having a great career because of it and enjoyed it because there's no better league than the CFL. It's a great league. And I tell a lot of people if the pay was the same, a lot of people would play in the CFL. They wouldn't run down south, but because it's a great league and great fans, great people, great organizations all the way around. So it's a great game to watch, just different. Just transition to what some of the things Ryan said. It's all about technique, technique and the fundamentals. And a lot of that gets thrown to the wayside, which as a young kid, even as a professional, even a young coach, you just got to keep honing the fundamentals. The fundamentals are very important. Don't lose the fundamentals because fundamentals help you get over top, especially when you get tired, fourth quarter, you're breathing hard. Man, what's the down and distance? So what's the play? Fundamentals will carry you. So make sure you're honing in on your fundamentals. Keep teaching those kids the fundamentals, base fundamentals. Stay on the fundamentals because that'll help you out. Another thing with that as well, I believe, like I said, I come from being a player to being a coach. I was in Ryan's position. After he said what he said, I was sitting there thinking about how long have I been doing this? And then I look back, it's been 12 years since I started. So I made that transition back in 2008 after I got hurt. I got hurt. And of course, if you're a CFL fan, you know my story. Broke my neck, and that was it. I thought I was going to play 10 to 12 years, but that wasn't the good Lord's plan for me. He said, it's time to move you to the next phase of your life, which I knew my whole life I wanted to be a coach. I said, I've been blessed, like I said, to be around a lot of great coaches, have a lot of input instilled into me. So there was no need for me to hold on to it. I'm going to give it back to somebody. So when I chose I said, I'm going to be a coach and I'm going to give it back all this information that I've been around, and I'm going to give it back to somebody else so they can use it. My career's done. There's no need for me to hold on to it anymore. So I'm going to pass it on to the next man, and maybe he'll have a great career. And I always say, I'm not trying to reach the masses. If I can just reach one, I feel good about myself. That means one person has taken in what I've told him, and he's used it, and he's gotten better. Now, if I reach 10, 12, 13, 14, then that makes me feel even better about myself. But I'll do it just to get to one, so that one can take it to the next person and to the next person. Like I said, I've had coaches that's been great influences in my life, and I always call them and say, hey, without you being in my life, things could have been turned out totally different for me. I might not have the career that I had. Might not have been blessed to play in the NFL, play in the CFL for a long time. Now I transition to a coach. So, like I said, I'm only out to reach that one, but if I reach more, it's a blessing, So, like I said, it's all about the fundamentals. Tyler, you go to the slide. And wait for it to pop up. Okay, so we just receiver play in general, just starting out. The main thing you got to start off with is stance from Pee Wee up to high school, college, professionals. Always start out with your stance because that's the main thing. Outside foot back because that helps with the timing and the depth of route. It keeps everything consistent. I get on guys of like, hey, the route is going to be off, and especially more down south than anything is they instill the timing because everything is more timing down there. Whereas up here in the CFL, you might get away with it every now and then, but you won't get away with it if you are the primary receiver. With every route concept, there's always a primary. So the primary guy has to be in his spot on time every time. So that's why stance is the most important start to everything that you do. Outside foot back, good knee bend, hands ready to go. And some guys, use that because they count their steps, which I never was that guy to do that. But hey, guys count it because that helps them get to their proper depth. They count, okay, if my outside foot comes up the third time, I know that put me at 5 yards. Or if it comes up the fourth time, that put me at 10 yards. So guys count steps, or they can look out at the yard mark and just say, hey, this is where I need to be. So always starts with your stance. For the CFL, which is the waggle is the most deadliest thing you can have in the CFL. Get a full speed run at a DB who's not expecting it, don't know what you're doing. Like Ryan said, we have the advantage, so we can put the DB anywhere we want to, so using that waggle is a very good weapon. But in order to use that weapon, you have to get the timing down. And that all comes with listening to your quarterback, get his rhythm, because every quarterback is different. And I tell guys doing training camp, I say, especially the young guys that are coming in that's never seen the league or they've heard about it but don't really understand it. I say, when you're back there, take mental reps, take notes, sit back there and listen to each quarterback when you're not in, because each quarterback has a different cadence. Some are fast with it, go, blue 80, said, hut. Some are slower, go, blue 80, said, hut. So it's all about listening to the quarterback, listen to his cadence, get the rhythm. So now you can gauge it and hit the ball at the line of scrimmage on time. You're not full speed all the time, because you want to gauge your speed just to set the DB up, because, you're really about 85 to 90% of your top speed when you're in a waggle, but most DBs don't know that. All they know is somebody's coming at me full speed downhill, so I have to be ready. I got to be on my toes. I got to be ready to go. So make sure you're listening to your quarterbacks when you're not in, and take all the notes. Down south is a little easier. All you got to do is listen and watch the ball move. So that's easy. But for the guys on the line of scrimmage in the CFL, you don't have to be static all the time. And I get guys, especially that come up here for the first time, they got to get used to all the rules, knowing that you can move up and down the line of scrimmage. You don't have to stand there. You can start next to the tackle, then move out to where you're supposed to be. So it's a fun game in that aspect for a receiver. So like I said, it's a lot of things that you could do with the waggle and your stance, but it all starts there. And then you go to the other aspects of the game, which you got to have good feet. You got to have good hips. You have good eyes. If you have good eyes, you have great hands, because you have to see the ball to catch the ball. And as Ryan was saying about the DBs seeing the quarterback throw the ball, well, we have to see everything, because that's the only way we're going to make the catch. That's the only way we're going to make the play. That's the only way we're going to see the spectacular plays that are made down the field. That's because that saw the ball all the way into his hands. So that's what you have to do. You have to see the ball. Every time I see a guy drop it, I never say, hey, why'd you drop that ball? I knew exactly. I asked him, I said, what was the reason why you dropped that ball? He said, well, I took my eyes off of it. Or I took my eyes off it because I wanted to turn upfield. I always tell them, see the catch, see the first down, then see the touchdown. It's all a process. You don't see one before you see the other. Some guys see the end zone but never see the catch. So everything is a process. Everything is steps. So make sure you're taking the proper steps in everything that you do. That's the only way you can get better at this game. That's the only way you can hone your craft. The do everything in steps. You can't skip steps in this league, in any league. You try to skip steps, you won't be at your best. You won't be the top in your position. So don't skip steps. You can go to the next slide for me, Tyler. So just a few drills that I do, and these are the start out drills, even from my young kids that I train with to my high school, even to my professional guys. I start out with these drills, just especially for professional guys, just shaking the rust off a little bit and getting them back into the swing of things. First one I start off with is my square cut drill and my hook and curl drill. Everyday drill just to get them going. And the object of these drills is to maintain body control. For a receiver, body control is everything. If you can keep your body, have great body control, you can make the great catches. You can put the DB anywhere you want to because you're in control of your body. Like you said, you don't want the DB to control you. As Ryan was saying, you want to be in control of your own body. So you're in control of your body. The DB doesn't know where you're going. So have great body control with that. Dropping your weight, bending your knees, having good knee bend is another aspect that you got to have. All right. And if you're standing up high, the DB can read that, knowing that, okay, he's ready to come out of his break because he's too high. Got to be able to drop your weight when you get to the top of your break. That way, the DB doesn't know. One thing it's definitely in sports is when you're running, you got to make everything look the same. Same as for DB. He's got to make everything look the same. Receivers got to make everything look the same, because you're going forward at a full speed, he's going backwards. So don't give him any indicators of when you're ready to come out of your break. Because when you do that, he's all over it. And you don't want them going the other way dancing because that's what DBs do, or make a play. Because even if they don't make the play, you drop the ball, like Ryan said, they think they do the best thing. They're dancing. You're giving them confidence. You don't want to give them no confidence. You want to take their confidence. And DBs got to have short memories. They got to have confidence. Our job is to take that confidence, so do everything that you're supposed to do to take that confidence. Hand, arm location at the top of your break. Always everything in tight, shoulder width apart. I tell guys when they're doing drills that they get their arms out, they flapping their hands like they're ready to come out of break, or they looking like, as an airplane, he puts his flaps down when they get ready to make a landing. That's what they do. I said, DBs read that. So now they're breaking. So no keys that you need. Don't give DBs any keys to break on your route. And then exploding out of the top of your break. Explosion is everything. That's where you're creating your separation. If you're coming out of there slow, the DB is on you. So you got to explode at the top of your break. My philosophy, 3 to set you free. You hear me? You hear me say 3 will set you free. So it should only take you 3 steps, and then you're exploding out of your break. If you hear 4, if you're taking 4, 5, 6, DB's on you. It might be a pick 6. It's going the other way. So 3 steps at the top of your break, you're out of there. You're gone. Now you've created your separation. All right. Also with these drills, you got to do drills that relate to the game. So you're always going to have a square cut in the game somewhere. You're always going to run a hook or a curl somewhere in the game. So like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years, which is amazing. I'm blessed to be doing it. And I've been blessed to be around a lot of coaches that have passed me on a lot of drills that I've just taken, and I've just shared with a lot of other guys. A lot of players that I've coached, they've like, Coach, that drill you did that year, can you give it to me? I need it. It was great. So, Ryan, you're going to get there too. You're going to be around, and you're going to have tons of drills that people are going to be requesting, over the off season, and I just do it. So you want to work on the change of direction. That's what COD is, change of direction. You got to have good change of direction. I also do, as like Ryan said, DBs and receivers in my mind are the exact same position, because all the DBs are doing the same thing, just in reverse in my mind, And so I tell young receivers, I said, do DB drills, because that's a different set of muscles that you're working, that you're creating, that are coming handy when you're going full speed forward. So do DB drills, then also do receiver drills on top of that. So now you understand what they're doing. You understand what they're trying to do. Now it works in your advantage because you've done them. And as a player, that's what I used to do. I used to do both drills. So now I understood, okay, making these moves here, okay, this is how your body shifts. Okay, this is where his body shifts. So now you understand, okay, his body's shifting this way, so I can shift my weight this way just to get him all balanced. So you're understanding how to play the position when you're doing all these drills. All right, so just a lot of things that you understand. And bursts, like I said, seal, change of direction, body control, and burst. All important things that you got to have as a receiver. All right. So down there, just a description of the drills I have at the bottom. I use 4 cones just to start off, 5 yards apart. You set it up in a square, and it's just simple. First cone, and starting out with young guys, I have them walk to the first cone or just high knee so I can get them in the proper position at the first cone where they need to be at the top of their break. Not overextending, trying to reach for the break, arms not all out, just good arm in great arm position, 45-degree angle, good knee bend, eyes up, and that's a very important thing. Always have your eyes up because there's nothing on the ground that you need to see. I tell guys, those lines are the same distance apart on every single field. So there's no need for you to be looking down at them. They're not going to move. They're not going to change. One's not going to be 3 yards, and one's not going to be a half a yard. They're all going to be the same distance apart, a yard apart. So keep your eyes up because what you need to see is in front of you. Your defender is in front of you. If he moves or if they're changing, rotating the coverage, you got to see all that. If you're looking down at the ground, you can't see that. So eyes up and see what your defender's doing. So if you have to make an adjustment, you can see it already. You know what's going to happen. And that comes along with just studying, film study, knowing the position, knowing everything, knowing your assignment, not having to get out there second guessing what I have to do. Study, study, study. Know everything that you need to do. So now when you hear a play, you've already registered in your mind what you have to do. Now what you're doing when you're going out to the line of scrimmage, you're surveying the defense. What does it look like to me? What coverage do I think it is? Okay, now I got a pre-snap read. Okay, let me get in my stance. Okay, where's my depth? I see where I need to go. Now you have all that done, and that happens fast. Happens real fast. So you got to process all this information, get it down. So now when that snap of the ball, you're coming off the ball, ready to go, get into your break, make the play. Catch the ball, see the ball, catch the ball. All right. Right there, just emphasizing just some of the same things. Working on your start, there's a good opportunity to get them in a proper stance at the top when they start off the drill. Don't just let them get up there and just stand any kind of way. Say, hey, work on your stance right here. There's a good opportunity while we're doing it in not a full speed setting. Work on your stance, get in a proper stance. Start off with your stance. Go to your first cone, good knee bend, good weight, make the square cut, explode out. All right. Arm position. And you do that all the way around till you get back to where you start. All right. Then it's the same setup for the hook curl drill. Now you're just working at a 45-degree angle. So now you go to the first cone, drop your weight, arms down, good elbow. And with this one, I teach an elbow jam. All right. Head around, elbow jam. So that'll bring your body around. But the main rule is wherever your head goes, your body will follow. So you bring your head, your body will follow. So bring your head first, elbow jam, your body come around. Now you're running back to the next cone at a 45-degree angle. And all this is you just keep repeating this. And as you get more and more advanced, the younger kids, you have them speed up, okay? You look at them and you say, okay, you're getting it down. You're getting a lot better with it. And now let's pick it up the pace a little bit. And then you'll see, okay, my young kid I trained that's in my video, if I had to show you the beginning when we first started to where he was in that video, you were like, man, it's a total difference because I started him slow because he's a great athlete. He's a great receiver. He's a great DB. He plays both ways. And I told him, I said, okay, we're going to start off slow, even though I know you're good. So let's get the fundamentals down. Like I say, fundamentals are key. And fundamentals go by the wayside. So keep honing on those guys. Keep honing fundamentals. Even we get to the point in season sometime, you're game planning, you're trying to get stuff in, you lose a little of your individual time, and the fundamentals slip because now you want to try to focus on your game planning. But as much as you can, try to hone and stay on your fundamentals and keep that going. Move up to the next slide for me, up a little bit on the drill. So that's just an example of just a few things, 2 drills right there that I do just as a start, and then believe me, you can branch off and do way more stuff. I'm probably like a D-line coach because I have so many toys, when it comes to drills, because I've been around so many places. Like I request so much stuff, and they're like, why do you have all this stuff? But I use everything because every drill that I have works something different. And that helps the guys too, because you do something different and okay, they be like, okay, what we're going to do today? It's something different. They're excited because now you're not doing the same thing every day. You change it up just to keep them, into it. Okay, like, Coach, okay, we're doing that drill today. Like, no, not that one. I got something a little bit different, but it's some of the same drills are the same. I might tweak it just a little bit to add a different aspect to it. So it's all about, hey, whatever you do to keep those guys into it, honing those fundamentals, good feet, good hips, good eyes, good hands. That's what you need as a receiver. You do all that, like I say, you can take your game to the next level and become a student of the game. That's very important. When you study, when you know what to expect from the defense, when you know your playbook inside and out, it works wonders for you. And I used to tell people that the Lord blessed me to have a great memory when it came to learning playbooks, and I could pick up on playbooks very quickly. So that helped me. It helped the game slow down for me, and that's what you want. When the game slows down, you see things a lot faster. You react a lot quicker because everything is not moving in a frantic pace. And now it's like everybody's in slow motion. You're going full speed. And he's like, okay, is he really doing that? He's doing that right now. I can't believe he's actually making that move. Okay, I'm going to make this move. So you see things a lot. You see things develop. So be a student of the game. Learn everything that you can. Be a sponge. Soak up everything. Like I said, I've been doing this 12 years and I'm still learning stuff. Doing these webinars helped me out because I developed new drills doing these things. So I have whole new drills that I'm going to try out next year when the season starts. I've developed some new drills, and you just got to keep honing your craft and getting better each day. That way, I always say, if I was ever bored and didn't want to hone my craft no more, then that's it. It's time for me to walk away. So keep honing your craft every single day. Find something that you can work on that will help you out. If you find something that to get better with each and every day, and I ask guys, I say, what are you going to work on today? What are you going to work on today? What you going to do today? Find something to work on. And then I ask them, I say, did you do that? Did you work on that? And I'll see. I said, I got the film, so I'll know what you told me. And if I didn't see it, I say, yeah, you didn't quite work on that today. So come back the next day and work on it. Right? But like Ryan said, it's great being a coach. It's been one of the best things I've done, transition from being a player to being a coach, which I've enjoyed tremendously. It's like the next best thing to playing is coaching, because I'm still around the game that I love and enjoy it to the fullest. And like he said, yeah, we're going to beat up on those DBs and we're going to take their confidence because that's what we do. We always going to do. We're going to talk a lot of trash to them, and that's who receivers are. Receivers, DBs, always friendly competition within everything. But at the end of the day, we know we're all about winning, and that's what we're going to do. Like I said, any questions, hey, shoot them, and we're ready for them.
Great. Thank you, Jason and Ryan. We're going to move on to our Q&A portion of the evening. Reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat here. Jason, we'll start with you since we just had you on. So first question is, actually the only question right now is, how do you build up the skills of a young receiver?
Easy. Like I said, it's all about starting off slow with young receivers. You can't put them at level 100. You got to start off at level 1 with receivers, young receivers. And that's why I said all my drills, I don't have them start off running. I have them walk to start off each drill. So now you can teach them the actual positions that you want them in. You get them exactly where So now you're teaching good habits. So don't start them out full speed. You start them off, okay, we're going to do these drills, but we're going to walk to this cone, or we're going to high knee to these cones. So now you get to the position at the top of your break, exactly where you need to. So start off, it's very simple. Start off slow with young guys. Don't rush them. Start off slow, and you'll see the progression. As they do it more and more slower, you'll start to see them start to understand it and get it down. And then you can say, okay, let's just pick up the pace a little bit. So I start them walking, and I say, okay, let's go to a jog, And then once they get to the jog and you see they're getting it down with the jog, okay, let's pick it up to about, say, 55 to 60%. So it's all about starting off slow with young guys.
Great. Thank you, Jason. A couple of questions here for Ryan. First one, Ryan, what defensive schemes do you devise when you're coaching young players with little experience as a defensive back?
Honestly, some of the easiest things is obviously from a man-to-man standpoint, just due to the fact that kids want to do what they see on TV. You know, whatever they see on the highlights, right? Whatever's on the new YouTube, whatever's on the new Snapchat, Instagram, those things, you know, they want to do that. And they think everything is based off of being man-to-man, press coverage, all those things. But one thing I just tell them is, man, it's about the fundamentals to be able to even play man-to-man. You got to have fundamentals. You got to have technique to play man-to-man. It's not just going out there saying the best athlete wins, because you're going to come to a point where you're playing against somebody that's just as athletic, just as fast, and those things don't matter no more. So at that point now, the guy who understands their craft and has perfected their craft and understand technique is going to have the edge on every single play. So with that being said, I always start out in man-to-man just due to the fact that, you know, man-to-man is easier to learn in the sense that I have a guy. You know, in zones and things like that, you got to understand, you know, somewhat more of the do's and don'ts, you know, who's next to you, what if that guy's a high player, if that guy's a low player, some of those other things where you're relying on other, you know, people. That's a little bit more complex. But man-to-man, okay, I have a guy. This guy lines up in front of me, I have him. So at that point now, we start working on the technique aspect of it. Where if you're playing off-man technique, I like my guys to play 7 yards off, maybe a yard and a half to 2 yards inside, depending on where he is. But also, I think that also gets, you know, a little bit out of whack at time by coaches as well, because they expect to play that type of technique all the time. But I tell everybody, your technique and leverage does change. If a guy now splits all the way inside and he's so close to the, you know, to the box where, you know, he's almost next to the, you know, the tackle or tight end, then there's no reason for you to play inside. You know, he's creating that space. So why would I still play inside where I'm just going to give up a 5 or 10 yard out, or, you know what I'm saying, 12, 14 yard corner route, because now I'm playing inside still. There comes a point in time where now the mental aspect of the game has to now change as well. So then that way now you can now apply that to your technique. So I have guys practice from both ends. You know, I have guys play from that 7 yards, you know, 2 yards inside. I also have guys play from a 7 yards and a yard and a half, 2 yards outside. Guys have to be able to play from both angles because you don't know how that receiver is going to line up, but your eyes and your technique is still the same. Meaning that your eyes are still on the hip, you still want to maintain your leverage, and at that point now play the receiver more so than playing the ball, so that way now you can put yourself in position to do those other things, like make the big play, like make the big interception. So man-to-man is always something that is easier to teach at that point. That way you can emphasize technique. Then at that point now, when you start understanding that a little bit better, you can move on to the bigger and better things like zones and zone blitzes and other ways to make plays while being able to look at the quarterback and now being able to play a little bit more freely at that point.
Great. And I have a couple questions from another coach. The first part is, and you touched on a little bit just on your last answer there, but I'm trying to teach basic zone defense with outside leverage to young DBs, but they want to cheat inside. Any suggestions to keep these boys outside from breaking in?
The thing about it is I tell anybody, man, trust your teammate. First and foremost, trust your teammate. Always in any defensive scheme, whether it's zone, whether any type of zone, there's always going to be somebody that has a job to do. And you have to trust that guy to be there. So if I'm outside in as a high player on cover 3, I know I'm going to have a curl to flat player. So if this guy runs that dig route and things like that, you know what I'm saying, I should be relying on my guy to be there to the point where, you know, I don't have to jump inside. Now, if I have, you know, maybe a little bit more knowledge and things like that where I just know to play, I understand that happens at times. But even then, that guy, that inside hook to curl player, curl to flat player, that guy should still be there. So at that point, rely on your teammates, so then that way now you don't have to get yourself in trouble, because as any receiver coach will tell you, once I see you cheating on that, please believe I'm going to tell that offensive coordinator, and we're going to set you up. And when you think that you're making these plays or making, you know what I'm saying, you think you're doing something really extravagant, it only takes one play to break you. And now all of a sudden you're doing, you know, these minimal things now that turns into a 70-yard touchdown because you're cheating the scheme and you're cheating the team at that point. So at that point, just tell them, man, just do your job. You know, it's for us as coaches to coach the other guys to do their job as well. Everybody has a responsibility within the zone scheme. Just stay within your craft and stay within the technique, stay within the scheme. That way now your plays will come. Some guys get to cheating inside because they're pressing for plays. The more you keep doing that, the more it makes it harder on everybody else around you, because now you're now trying to substitute for those guys while, you know, maybe not fulfilling your end of the bargain or your job role to the best of your ability. So like I said, play the technique, stay outside, stay top shoulder. You can always play it downhill, make it a tougher throw from that standpoint. But the best thing about that is, like I said, play top shoulder, outside leverage. So that way now you can eliminate the deep ball as best as possible. Rely on your intermediate droppers so that way they can play in these windows. And then you'll end up making plays anyway. Because if that guy's in place, you'll be able to get tip balls. You'll be able to get some other things that maybe you didn't have to work as hard for, but you're the guy that gets to be on Sports Center. You know what I'm saying? You're the guy that gets to get all the glory. You're the guy whose pictures in the, in the newspaper that, that next morning. So just doing your job will enable you now to make more plays. And as long as you stick to that, man, the best will be, ahead of you anyway.
Thanks, Ryan. We got one more question that just came in. It's for Jason. Jason, what drills do you like to teach wide receivers on how to beat press coverage?
Press coverage is, depending on where you're at. With the CFL, for one, is waggle or moving on the line of scrimmage. That's the best beater of press coverage for guys on the line of scrimmage. Never have them just line up and stay static when they're right in your face. I always tell a guy, if you stand there, the DB is comfortable. He's got his house shoes on, he's got his robe on because he's in his comfort zone. As soon as you move, he gets uncomfortable because he has no idea what you're going to do at that point. He has no idea where you're going to go. Whereas if you stand there, he can play a shade on you. He can force you somewhere. But when you move, okay, what is he done? His mind starts going in circles at that point. Okay, what is he trying to do to me? Where does he want me at this point? He's trying to do something to me. So now the DB is uncomfortable. So have him move on the line of scrimmage. That's the best beater press in the league around. Then another thing, have them work on their hands, hand speed. As a player, I would do boxing, so speed bags, working on your hands. So now the faster your hands are, the quicker you can react to the DBs if they're putting their hands up. So have them work on their hands and have them hit a speed bag, just get used to it and get their hands faster. Now then it comes to doing all the release moves that you want from that point, hand over, arm punch through, elbow jam, dip and rip, all that stuff comes in handy when your hands are faster. But if you don't have quick hands, something you need to work on. Even I've had a guy tell me to do like martial art stuff. Say work on martial arts, all that stuff. The UFC gripping and grappling stuff. Do all that stuff because you can use it. Which I found like what, that would be something to try to do. And I've seen some guys have done it and it worked for them. So anything that you can do to help your hand speed is the best thing that you can do, and use the motion up and down the line of scrimmage.
Great. Thank you, Jason. So that concludes tonight's Coach's Playbook series. Join us next Wednesday for our final webinar. It's going to be on the run game. It's going to have linebackers coach Travis Brown and offensive assistant Danny O'Brien. So we hope you can join us for that. Once again, thank you, Bose Construction, GMO Mechanical, partners of the Coach's Playbook series. Once again, my name's Tyler, and we wish everyone a good night and take care and stay safe. Thank you.